everyone, it's Rhaenyx, and today I'm excited to bring you along as I create something truly magical, which is my Rise from the Ashes dress. This is not just a costume, it's sort of a journey of transformation, and just like the phoenix, this dress represents resilience and birth and sort of my rising from the ashes into something even more powerful. So I'm going to take you on a step-by-step process from the design sketches to all of the fiery final details, and if you're ready to come see my vision come to life, let's just dive in. I had to change photo shoot concepts, and I only have a little bit of time now to build an entirely new outfit. But my mom happened to find this dress for $13 at a Goodwill, and I think it will be great. It's pretty close to my inspiration photo. It's not exact, but I can make it work. So the first step that I did was I cut the dress apart, and I also stitched it in so it was closer to my size. I had to take in the sleeves a little bit so they weren't quite so big and bulky, and you could still kind of see the silhouette of the dress. I needed to take in the waist and the sides a little bit. And then after I kind of did some of those few quick, simple things, so I had an open front for the little shorts, and then I got to work starting to add and layer all of the different chiffons and taffetas and fabrics that I wanted to add as an overlay for the skirt. So I cut out the middle as well as a triangle down the front. Time to dye stuff. Okay, so I just hung up both pieces that I dyed. This bigger piece has some areas that did not take as well just because it was so tight in the pot, but I don't mind. I figured if it comes out perfect, great. If not, it will just kind of help me add some dimension and texture and depth to the distressing and everything. It looks like this smaller piece came out really well. I did them in different shades of black slightly, so that way there was just a little bit more light and movement and texture amongst the three blacks, and I figured it'd be really hard to match all three perfectly, and I didn't want too different than the bottom and all that. So I'm hoping it looks really good and it doesn't look like a mistake. Okay, it's the next morning, and the charcoal ended up way lighter than I anticipated, and the train overlayer is lighter than I thought it would be, a little more purple than I thought it would be, and is very, very splotchy. I don't mind some of it, but I do think it needs to be like black. So I've got my dress on one of my dress forms and start to add some of the other fabric. I'm going to pin it and drape it and then start to burn it for some of the more texture and stuff. And I'll probably do a couple of chunks through here maybe, but I think I'm mainly going to do the bottom, and then I'm going to do the chunks with the additional layers. So wish me luck, and let's see how this goes. Okay, so it's 1 o'clock right now, and I am way behind. I just got back from PT, and I'm feeling very stuck. Honestly, I don't know if I'm gonna get this done, and I keep trying to tell myself I will, but I'm feeling really down about it. So, before I can drape the skirt or figure anything out, I think I need to run experiments on some of the fabric that I got to see how it burns and tears and shreds, and that will maybe help determine how I drape it. So, that's the game plan. Let's go set some things on fire. Alright, so this is a piece of fabric that I took some really bad dull scissors to and just started hacking and like chopping because they don't cut very well. And then I just started to take my fingers and pull threads where I could, which is pretty cool, but it's still a little flat, needs some dimension and some texture. So I want to see what happens when I burn through the center holes, when I burn the edges, and how I can kind of manipulate this. And I've got my water right down below me, so. That looks awesome. All right, well, this is the chiffon. So let's try the satin, because then it starts to all melt it together, which looks really cool and dripping. Oh, this is very cool. This is what we're looking at. The skirt, I did a lot of burning. It took me hours and hours and hours of burning. Please make sure that you wear a face mask, that you have protection, inhaling these fumes, but it was very rewarding and it gave me the look that I wanted. I just continued to burn each layer of fabric after I cut it in sort of the shape that matched my inspo photo. Other than that, I just spent some time hand sewing some of the little crystals from the trim onto the choker, as well as sewing some of the skinny leather onto both the feather straps that I did and then around that entire overlay area. Okay, so it's currently 5:15. I have not finished doing the holes in the skirt or anything, but I've started to drape stuff while Michael was gone at the store. I think I'm starting to get an idea and a vision, and we're making it work. So this is kind of what we're working with. I think I'm gonna do the really cool sort of cracked looking chiffon in between to give it some lightness and texture. And then I'm thinking of doing sort of these feathers on top and shredding that as the top layer, so it gives it some fullness and texture and bounce, but it won't be too overwhelming because it'll be more of the shortest layer on top of the feathers, and sort of tying everything all in. And I tied that together with a leather belt. The shorts were not too hard to do. I basically did a no-sew kind of wraparound pattern. I just laid the shorts down and made a bigger version and then kept cutting away until they worked. So now that you have your really big, ridiculous pattern, you are going to try your shorts on. I just didn't stress too much about how to do it, but I did use a little tie in the front, and then I kind of used snaps in the back to attach it together and leave a little tail, if you will. And then I just burned it, and I added snaps to keep the bottom part down, sort of on an old piece of underwear, or you can use little dance shorts underneath, so that way I also had extra coverage and security.
I just need to sew 2 snaps in the back, so that way I can attach all of this together and make it one piece. But I left myself a little tail. I'm going to do more distressing. I might add some crinoline or something, you know, in here to make it a little more bustly. I'm not sure yet. But I'm not going to worry too much about doing the back right now because it's not going to be seen for this shoot. So other than that, for sewing snaps and sewing a snap for the front here, I think I'm done with the shorts other than distressing them, and now I can decorate. Hopefully tomorrow, most likely Wednesday. That's the game plan. So for the shorts, I just did a single seam on each side, and then I just attached a little leather strap. I have a metallic puffy paint and I have a shiny, or essentially gloss, puffy paint. And the gloss here is definitely shinier and darker, but what I really like about it, it mimics the way that it looks on the satin as it melts around the holes and everything. You can see it. And then I like the metallic because it sort of gives a more matte feeling, but it still has a bit of the shine like the satin. I do really like the actual matte black a lot more than I thought I did last night, and I think it really puffed up really cool. So I'm definitely going to do that in a couple of areas as well, but I think I'm mainly going to use the black gloss and then the metallic on top. And my thought is I am going to do a little bit of hot glue just in certain areas to kind of give it a base, but I'm really not going to do too much because it seems to make the fabric really stiff, and I still want it to move and flow, which is why the puffy paint is so good. And then I go in with the heat gun and I over dry it until it starts like bubbling and, you know, oozing and doing all its stuff, and it makes it really crinkly. And I figured if anything I could do a couple layers of puff paint as that, changing up what color of puff paint I use, and that will give a really nice dimensional sort of fire, ember, lava-y texture. So hopefully this works because I've worked really hard on this dress and I really don't want to ruin it. I
finally was able to get to the part I was most excited for, which is decorating. And that is getting to do all of the sort of glowing, molten-y embers from within on the dress. I just went in and I hot glued the red metallic fabric to the dress in shapes that I wanted. Now, each side of the fabric, one shined more red with a little bit of black and one shined more black with some red. And I alternated on the dress what side was out, so that way it had a lot of depth as it was burning. It didn't just look like one color. It really looked like there were hotter spots and colder spots on this dress. And then I just went around with all the puffy paint.
Okay, so the top is basically done. I still have to do the back and the sleeves though. And then I have started to glue these sections of the red fabric onto the skirt everywhere, which is really exciting. It looks really cool. I alternated what side I put out, so some panels are darker with more of the black out and some are brighter with more of the red out, so it kind of has some more variation underneath all of the fabric puffy paint. But I'm very excited about it. It is going to take me 5 billion times longer than I want. I started down here and I think I need a lot more puffy paint.
I did several layers. I started with a black gloss to try and build up and everything. And then once I got all that down, I went back with the black metallic puffy paint over all of that. So I had a little bit of sheen, the same way that the satin did when it melted around the edges. It had that shine, that plasticky feel. So I figured the metallic would be really good for that. So I then went over everything and kind of like made more texture and more divots and like spots and molten-y places, and I placed some more crystal and shook a little bit more loose glitter and then just kept burning it until it completely bubbled and warped and no longer looked like puffy paint, but it looked like lava.
Okay, so I basically have the dress done. I'm very nervous about it. I'm nervous about putting it on. I'm nervous about the belt. I'm nervous about how the shorts will fit. I am very nervous about this skirt just because it's not quite draping right anymore because of the weight of all the puffy paint, which I knew was a risk, but I was limited on time and it was the best idea I had.
Now that the dress is done, it is time to make our prop, and this is so easy to do. It is 3 steps. Anybody can do it, and it's super duper fast. They looked really real and I fell in love with them, so I ended up making a bunch of them. The very first step is to lay down some plastic on the ground, and then you're gonna take some paper cups or some cardboard, whatever you have lying around, and you're going to just place that in different spots on your plastic. This is going to give us some dimension and height when we go to spray our foam. Now you're going to wrap your lights around whatever you have on your plastic, making sure to leave out your battery pack or the end of your cable so you can plug it in. I specifically used red and orange lights, so that way it really helped bring this effect to life. I got battery powered lights since I knew that we were going to be outside, and I got ones that would flicker and twinkle and do different effects so they wouldn't just be static and on, and they would look really cool in real life. Once I have all the lights wrapped around whatever objects I have on my plastic, I am going to go use the spray foam, and this is really fast. This first can was old, so it didn't come out very well, but my next can that I ended up using, it just sprayed so quickly, and you want to cover all of this up. Don't be afraid to cover up the lights. They're still going to shine through, so really have fun spraying all that spray foam on. And then I just took a little skewer, if you will, and I started just stabbing it and pulling it and twisting it around in the spray foam, so it created sort of these flamey, warpy textures, and it didn't look just like what it looked like when the foam came out. And once I was happy with that, I just left it alone to dry for 8 hours. Once that 8 hours is up, now it's time for the fun part, and that is painting.
Okay, so it's the next day and they are all dry. They look really great. I'm going to try the way that I've seen everybody else do it on one of them and spray paint them.
So I peeled off my plastic from the underside, and then I grabbed my orange, red, and black spray paint. I've seen a lot of people just do red and black, but I wanted to add a little bit more dimension, and I always say you need at least 3 colors to have some dimension. So I decided to add orange first in the deepest crevices and then also red in some of the other crevices. And then I went over all of that with the black spray paint. I layered this up a couple of times while it was wet so it would start to bubble and you could sort of see some of the other colors underneath. And then all of the brightest colors, those reds and oranges, you could really see peeking in the deepest crevices. And when the lights turned on, it really helped bring the effect to life. These were so fast to make and they were really cool, and I was so happy to have them as a prop on my photo shoot. And now it is time for the final results, and it's photo shoot day.
Okay, so it is 4:04 and I just got to our location. Marshall is about 10 minutes away and I have everything in the back of my car here, and I was going to start pulling everything out. There are some people here having a picnic, so this will be super interesting, I guess, to shoot some of these like shots with people around. But I think I'm gonna wait to set everything up just because I want to see if Marshall has a specific location in mind. There's a bunch of really good stuff here. So it was cool to get to go out and shoot. I use snaps, so if I just want to do the shorts, I can just have the shorts. If I wanted to just do the overlay on top of the shorts, I could do that as well. If I wanted to just do the dress by itself without the overlay, I could do that too. So I really tried to make all of my pieces work for me in multiple different ways and not just be attached in one final garment. Okay, so we finished outside and now we are at the studio. I don't know how the outside shots turned out. We waited till pretty dark to shoot. I do know we got some like attempts at some really cool stuff, so we're gonna try and do more here in the studio and see how that goes. And Michael's getting some food, so we're gonna have a food break and then we're going to shoot as long as we possibly can. So and here it is, the finished Rise from the Ashes dress, and that was basically the completed look. And here are the finished photos. All its glory. This has been such a transformation, and this was a really meaningful process for me, and I really have fallen in love with this piece. It was the first piece that I fully designed from start to finish myself. Just like this dress, we all have the power to rebuild ourselves and rise stronger and brighter than ever before. Thank you all so much for joining me on this journey, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that little notification bell if you want to see more transformations and performance related content. Until next time, stay fierce and keep that fire burning and bright. With fire and grace, I'm Rhaenyx, and I'll see you all next time.